Welcome to the part 7, guys. In this part, we'll implement theming in our already created React application. We'll see how we can integrate a dark mode, a toggle switch from light to dark mode, and vice versa in our app. So far, our application looks like this. We have styled our application using style components. And let's go one step further. We'll try to implement theming in our application, which means at the root level, we'll try to pass the dynamic variables, and by using a switch, we can convert that theme into something else. So this is something you might have noticed that's happening really frequently in the web apps these days. We have this switch from light mode to dark mode. There's a button, and very easily, all of the theme of the application, the colors, the primary and secondary colors, text colors, gets changed. So let's try to implement that. So we'll try to place a toggle button here, which is nothing but a checkbox with some CSS applied on top of it, and it'll be used to change the theme. So in order to create that component, let me create a component here. I'll name it as toggle theme button.jsx, and it'll look like this. So it's a theme toggle button, which I have created from taking help from this W3C CSS, and using style components, I have created this label, and there's a checkbox inside it, which will act as a reactive component here, and slider is nothing but a span with some CSS to make it look more beautiful. Let's save it and let's try to import it, and let's place it here. So let's see how it looks so far. So it's just a simple button. That's just nothing but a checkbox. Okay, so one thing we need to pass as a prop here is the mode itself. So let's say we have these props, and let's make this value bind to the prop called as props dot is dark mode, and on change. So this is how you interweave the inputs and outputs. So is dark mode is a boolean that is applied as a value to this component, this HTML element, and whenever the value changes for this checkbox, we want to emit that value out so that the parent can handle it and update the is dark mode from there, so that it trickles down the component hierarchy. Props.onChange. Now we'll have to handle this wherever we are using this theme toggle button. So we'll have to pass these two props, which are is dark mode and on change. So the way we'll obviously have to maintain a state here. So you know how to create a state variable using the useState hook, and const state. So by default, the dark mode is false, and let's say we have is dark mode, or let's say mode, and set mode, and set it to initially light, and is dark mode. Let's do this comparison here. Mode triple equals to dark, and on change would be handle or handle mode change, and here we'll get the event object, and we can get checked equals to event dot target dot checked, and return set mode equals to, so if the value is checked, then we want to set the mode as dark. Otherwise, we'll set the mode as light as initial. Handle mode change. So let's see it. So nothing will happen here. In order to see more of this, so I have this React DevTools installed. It's a Chrome extension with which you can see the state bound to each component. So as you can tell, is dark mode is set to false right now, and when I'll toggle it, you can see it is set to true. We have our state in place. Now let's try to create the theme. So the way to create a theme is by using Styled Components theming. They have this guide right away, very lucid guide. So all you have to do is, at the root level of your application, you have to import ThemeProvider. We'll discuss more about providers when we'll discuss about context in the coming videos. And here we have to wrap our part wherein we want the theming to take effect inside the theme provider. So theme provider is nothing but a component that takes one value as theme, and in here we have to pass our two themes. Like it could be either a dark theme or a light theme. Mode, again we'll have to apply that check. Mode is equals to light. Then we'll use the light theme, which will just create, and dark theme. So as you can see, this mode equals to light or mode equals to dark check is being used twice. So maybe we can create a variable here, is dark mode equals to mode triple equals to, we'll have to choose either of those. So mode equals to dark is what we can choose, and is dark mode, and now we can use the same variable here as well. Let me just flip the outputs. Okay, and maybe here we can use the use memo. It's a good place to do that, so that although it's a minor computation, but in order to keep the reference of its dark mode same every time, we can use this use memo hook. It will hold the value of this computed equality. Let's import it. Okay. Now also, since I'm using mode as a dependency inside the callback, I'll have to write mode here, so that whenever mode changes, this is dark mode value also changes, so that this expression will be re-evaluated whenever mode will change. Okay, now that we are set, we'll have to set our light theme and dark themes. So we need to understand what all styles we are going to target in the themes. So for example, the background of our application will be black first of all, and the text colors will be white, and maybe something else you might want to change the primary color of this this checkbox or the buttons, which we'll introduce in the upcoming videos. So we can have one primary color, one text color, and one background color, I guess. We'll refactor it later, but just for now, let's implement the functionality. So we have three things. BG color, let's set it to some dark color. Text color, simply text. On a light theme it would be, oh by the way, it's okay, we are talking about the dark theme. The text color would be white. The primary color would be, let's say, Rebecca purple. Okay, you can add any number of these variables, and in case of light theme, the background will be something like an off-white, FA, and the text will be normally black, or maybe let's switch it with this slate gray sort of version. And the primary color will be, okay, let's set it to salmon. So we have our themes in place, and just making sure if everything is all right. Okay, now we'll have to bind these variables that we just created inside this theme to our styles. So the first thing to do while implementing the dark mode is to set the background color of the body itself to this darker shade. But the problem is that the body is outside, the style of body is defined here inside index.css. So that is outside the limits of style components. So we'll somehow have to make it inside the theme provider so that it can take the theme as a property and change the background color accordingly. So the style components provide a way for that. It's by creating something called as create global styles. So it looks like this. We can import it this way, create global style, and inside here we can apply something at the very root of the CSS tree, of our DOM tree. So and we'll just need to, it exposes as a normal, just the way it does, as a tag, and we can reference the tag inside our theme provider realm. So let's import that, create global style, and const global style equals to create global style. Now this is a function which can be invoked using the backticks. You can learn more about the backticks on MDN. And here I'll apply the thing that I want to control via style components using the prop syntax. So we'll get something like this, props, and props will hold the property called as theme, and inside the property inside the theme we have this property called as bg color, and here we'll check, okay, if the theme is, or simply this, that's it, that holds our color that we want to apply. So that is it, yeah. And we just need to now add it here, global style, and since our theme is simply light in the first, and when I toggle it, this on change event happens and the mode is set to dark, and when the mode is set to dark, here is dark mode, it references this dark theme that we just provided, which changed the color here, and if I change it back, it is now my off-white color that I had on the body. Yep, this is it. So at least our background problem is solved now. Now let's move further, which is easy to do. We'll have to change all our text colors basically. So let's create a header component, const heading equals to styled h2, and let's try to mimic the styles here, which was text align center. And same way we want to have the color property set using the props.theme. So maybe we can destructure it right away. So props hold theme object and theme object hold. So we can destructure it further to text property, and here it ends, and this is it. Yep. And now let's make this change inside our JSX to heading. Yep. Let's see. Style is not defined because we didn't import it. Alright, so by default it is displaying black color here in the H2, and now it is displaying white. So the same thing we have to do for these inside items, the user items. So let's go further, and inside the styles here we had our GitHub link and username. Yes, so let's set the color property the same way. Let's restructure it one by one. we destructure theme, and out of theme we destructure again to text. So this is nothing but ES6 destructuring syntax, and we're just setting it. Let me do the same thing for the GitHub link as well. Yep. By default it's black, and yes. So we have converted our application. We have introduced the toggle from light to dark mode using this theme provider, and same way you can also implement it. Theme doesn't mean that only you can do toggling from light mode to dark mode and vice versa. It can mean that mean some personalization also to the user. For example, you can store this theme object that the user chose inside the local storage, and then even when the user reloads it, it's taken from the local storage. So while we are learning this, so our theming is done. Let's try to move one step further. Let me refactor this component a bit. So maybe I can create a hook for this, something called as use theme. Inside, let's say, let me create a use theme hook here, JS, and a hook is nothing but a function, but we'll have to import React if we are going to write any JSX at all. Otherwise, we don't need to import it. Import export function use theme, and it's not going to take any variables, I guess. And let's move all the stuff from here to this thing. Let's import use state, use memo. So a hook is nothing but a function which can have these hooks, these React hooks inside it, but they should be at the root level. Remember the rules of hooks, they shouldn't be present inside any conditional statement. They should be at the very root of this function body. So that's what it is. And here we must return the things that we want to use inside our app component, and that is dark mode, and maybe mode is something that we don't use because we have already used it here inside our dark mode, and handle mode change to pass it as our checkbox on change output. And let's refer it here now, const those two properties were these ones, and equals to use theme. And VS Code will help you auto import it above. Yeah, and maybe we can move this as well, as these are nothing but constants. You can keep it in a configuration file, or if you want you can export it right away for the sake of simplicity from here as well. And maybe in advanced cases you can get this theme stored in the backend and fetch from there using the API call in production level apps, because the user might store his preference of the theme on the server. So by default you can show the user some theme, and till the data arrives from the backend you can show a default theme and then toggle it to the user's choice theme. So far we have refactored it in this manner, and maybe we can move one step further. So for example, right now if I am let me just import it first, light theme and dark theme. Hopefully I have exported them. Yes. And so when I change it to dark mode and I refresh again, the changes are lost. So how can we persist the user choice? So one way is to use some client-side persisting, and through local storage we can do that. Let me create a function set mode in local storage mode and local storage dot set item theme mode add to mode, and when the user changes it, let's call this method, and since we have to use this, let's extract it to a variable here and pass it to both of these things. And now maybe we can create another function that says get mode from local storage, so that we can get it for the initial render. Here where we are using this use state, we are passing light as the default one. So instead of passing light as the default one, we can use this function and this will grab our local storage. If that fails, let's put light as the default one. So when the user accesses the app for the first time and he hasn't made a choice, obviously in the local storage nothing will be there, so we can default it to light in that case, in that edge case. And also we don't need to export it from here. I thought it was getting used in the app component somewhere, but it was not. So let's save it and let's see if it accomplishes the behavior. Expected an assignment and line 30 get mode. Oh, we forgot the return. Let me change it to dark mode and let me refresh it. Nope. So there's some typo here. We don't need this mode argument. Rather, we need to get this property out of the local storage that we just saved earlier. The checkbox here is not respecting that change. It's because we have value here, and rather it should be the check property of the input type checkbox. And let's see it now. Yes. So this is also updating and our choice is also being persisted from the local storage. So if I change this and now reload it, so it should show the light theme. And if we check the local storage, we have it here, theme mode as light. And if I change it to dark again and reload my app, it will be dark. Cool. We have implemented theming, the toggle from light to dark mode in our application as well. In the next tutorial, we'll see how we can implement the animations in our React applications to make it more lively.